Thank you for tuning in at Home with Nicole. My name is Nicole Blumeyer. I'm a local real estate agent here in Orange County. I have a special guest today, Farid. We met at the Irvine Company, and he is an out-of-state investor, so he's here to share his story with that, tips and tricks, as well as what it means to be a community member here in Orange County.
Yes. Hello, everyone, and hi, Nicole. Thank you for having me on my first podcast ever. I am honored to be her first guest as well. Nicole is a very talented realtor, and she is one of the top agents within the company. So I would definitely listen to everything. I would listen to what she has to say too, always. I highly recommend her experience as well. She and I connected through work, and she was able to hear my story regarding my investment in properties and real estate in general. And she thought this would be a good idea for me to share my thoughts and experience with you guys. And I'm super excited to be here. So I'm gonna go get right to it. So investment in real estate is always a good idea because the real estate, even though the market can crash, homes will go foreclose and prices may drop at one point or another, but they always go back up eventually.
And if you are smart, you are waiting for that drop to jump in. And if you already have property, even if it drops, hold, buy and hold. Our best advice is to never sell unless you are upgrading to a larger property, to maybe multifamily or something that is going to generate more cash income.
I agree. See, she's so experienced. She gives you the best advice possible. So I 100% agree with what she said. So you want to invest in real estate, and if you invest at the real estate in the right time, so number one is instead of going, buying an expensive car or buying expensive items that you don't really need, put that money aside, because when the market does crash and you have some cash down, you can always invest into properties outside of California that are much lower value. And if you can buy maybe 1, 2, or 3 houses that are very small houses, but before you obviously put any offer into any house, you have to do your own research the neighborhood, research the houses around, see what they're selling for. For example, myself, I found realtors who are willing to find prospects for me and applicants while the house was in escrow. So just in case if the house wasn't going to get rented, I was still able to pull out of that deal. And I would tell them that right off the bat, that, this is my deal. You're going to get this home rented for me while it is in escrow. Because if you cannot do this, or if you don't want to put in the work, then we don't have to work together. There are other realtors who are willing to work harder because they obviously, they make commission on their rental agreement too. So if they are hardworking and they're committed to become,
it's in their best interest to do it, because then they get paid for closing the deal with you, purchasing the home, and they get paid to put the correct renters in there. And then you as the investor don't have that exposure of the home being vacant and paying a mortgage on an empty unit for months on end, which is a possibility. We've seen that even with multifamily units sometimes sit vacant for months. And if you don't have that kind of cash set aside, or just don't want to pay for a vacant unit, that is the smartest way to build it into your deal so that you're continuing the cash flow appropriately. And it does hurt to walk away from a deal, but if it's not gonna make you money, it's just business. It's time to go.
Absolutely, she's 100% correct. Because last thing you want to do is be stuck with a home that is not getting rented for months, and you have to pay the mortgage on that, and your plan backflips. You were planning on making a profit out of the rent agreement that you signed with your applicant. And once they move in, let's say hypothetically, if your mortgage is $1,000 a month, and you researched before you put an offer in this home for that area, the houses in the area, and they're about renting $1,500 to $1,800 a month. So you can charge that rent, especially if the home is good, but after I tell you this, I'm also going to go back and tell you what to do before you put an offer into home. So that way you don't lose money in any way. So, but going back to my conversation, once you do have that applicant and they get approved and you check their income, they're legit. If you're a private landlord, I highly recommend you do verification of residency to make sure, because if you have the financial background where you can hire a property manager, obviously do that because they've been in this industry for a long time, they can help you. But if you're a newcomer like myself and like Nicole here, we're not millionaires, so we can't keep hiring employees to manage properties.
But we are lucky in having that property management background.
Absolutely.
We know what to look for, especially from leasing and being on site. We've seen thousands of applications. We know what fraudulent proof of income looks like. We know when it smells wrong with an applicant. So we do have that benefit. So you are looking for an agent as well that has both of those skill sets so that they can help you. But yes, in the beginning, if you're starting out and you don't have that kind of support, I would definitely do as much research on that property, on that neighborhood as you can. What were some of the ways that you did your research on the neighborhood?
Excellent question. So number one is when you go look at that neighborhood, look at the type of houses that are built in that neighborhood and how much renovation is going on. So if you're going on Zillow or other websites where you can find homes, first thing you do is you look at the images of the houses. If they all look old and not renovated, not upgraded, there is a reason for that. That's not an upcoming neighborhood. That is a neighborhood that is, stable. There's no growth in that neighborhood. No one's renovating. So investing in that neighborhood has a higher risk because no one's spending money in any of the houses that are listed. So that's a red flag. You can do what you want with your money, but I would stay away from neighborhoods that have, 1930s, 1940s houses with still original kitchens and original everything in them. That's not a good look. But if you find, you just keep looking at that specific neighborhood that the house is listed at, and you look at the house in the surrounding area. You check out the what's there to do around that area. You check out if the neighborhood is promising or if it's, like in a good part of the downtown or the bad part of the downtown. You can ask the realtor, what kind of neighborhood is this? And usually because they want to keep you happy and they want the word of mouth and they want you to keep working with you, obviously they'll be honest with you and tell you what kind of neighborhood you are purchasing in. And once you have enough information regarding what type of neighborhood you're dealing with and what kind of houses there are, and are they renting? Are they on Zillow for 2 months? Are they on Zillow for 3 months with not a single offer on them? That's a red flag. So don't rush into making any decisions because you are putting your life savings in this. You are taking a huge risk. But the risk is worth it once you do make the right decision. Another thing I mentioned earlier I wanted to go back to is when you do find the right house, always hire an inspector to go check out the home for you.
Because they're what, $500 a pop?
$500,
And that could save you thousands if there's
easy
bad plumbing or issues with the foundation, major costs that are going to prevent you from ever putting renters in there for potentially months on end while you go find the right contractors to fix it and then have to pay for those things or end up having to wholesale that deal just to get it off your books and you're still down cash.
Absolutely. And I have a perfect example for it. Actually, one of my best friends who recently wanted to purchase a home, he loved the home. It was a condo and he fell in love with it. And he was pretty much closing this home. He applied for the mortgage, he got pre-approved, everything looked great. And he did hired an inspector, and they went in and found out the foundation needed a lot of work, like 30K of work.
Yikes.
And he reached out to the owner, through his realtor, he reached out to the owner, and the owner refused to put in the money in the house, even though he renovated the kitchen, all the bathroom
or
areas
even cut
and everything, or nothing.
Out of the deal?
Nothing. So in that deal, you lose big because you're buying a home that you're immediately going to have to spend money in. And your mortgage may not even get approved on that home. So you spent all this time preparing yourself and getting everything, that you needed to get approved. And then you did all this work, all this time. Time is money, time is valuable. You spent all this time to get that home, your dream home or condo in this case. And then mortgage doesn't even come through. And then you wasted all that time.
Time is the one thing you can't purchase, you can't take it back, and you could have been spending more energy on a better deal on a completely different home with a simple. How long did the inspection take on your properties? An hour or two max?
Maybe, yeah. I mean, literally, when I asked inspectors to go and inspect the homes, by next day I had a list of things that home needed. Because no home is perfect, but you want to know how much work you have to put in this home so you can make it rentable. And one more thing I can tell you is if the inspector comes with 2 pages of list of things that this home needs, but the home is cheap, it just sounds good, don't take that risk, because obviously you're going to spend so much more money to make that home a livable home. By the time you're done spending money in that home, even if you are making a profit, it's going to take you years to just break equally, not even be at a profitable level. So, and always when you do close on a home and you have your renters and I highly recommend to put a small amount of your profit in a separate bank account to preventive maintenance care, because homes are going to need things when someone lives in them. Dishwasher can break, drywall can crack, things like that. You don't want to pay those out of the pocket. You want to take money.
Roofs need repairing.
Absolutely. So you want to have that emergency fund. So once you built up a pretty good emergency fund, it's never enough because you never know what could go wrong. So you always keep putting money in that from your profit. Obviously, you can take a portion of your profit and put it in a savings or checking or any kind of RA account or anything you desire.
And how much do you set aside for repairs and what have you? I have a girlfriend who does HOA planning for multifamily properties. How much they need to be charging for HOA fees and how much exactly needs to be set aside for roofing, for plumbing, for maybe landscaping the property, for something like one of our Irvine Company properties. But when you as a investor, especially out of state, how much are you setting aside knowing I potentially am looking at this bill this many years down the line, or maybe even 6 months down the line?
So I say if my profit is like $800 on a home a month that I'm renting, I would set aside $300 a month from that home to a completely separate account. I may not need to use that $300 for 3-5 years, but I may need to use it by the end of the year. But I don't have to put my hand in my pocket when the costs are needed. Obviously, that's not always the case because $300 only takes you so far. What if the repairs are $10K? Well then, yeah, at that point, you're gonna have to reach in your pocket. But once you do spend that money, then instead of, you learn your lesson. You're like, okay, this home, it has more more maintenance issues than I anticipated. So you either put more money aside after you pay the repairs, or you look elsewhere. You look at other homes and you hope, by that you have to check the market. And because if the home is costing you money continuously, then obviously that's a very risky investment. Last thing you want to do is keep spending money in a home that you're not even living in, you're renting. So if the home keeps costing you money and the money is way more than what you can put on the side and make profit on, then it might be time to sell.
It'll still look like an enticing deal to somebody who is looking to purchase, especially if they want a home that already has tenants in it that have a proven track record for at least paying the rent. So there are those days where, yes, you might have to walk away from that deal. You might have to sell that home to purchase something that's going to be less of a headache. Nothing is ever going to be 100%, But knowing what your hard stop is and when you need to walk away is taking the emotion out of it and just being a better investor overall. And I feel like a lot of first-time investors have a really hard time cutting loose, letting go, because it's their first maybe deal that they've been doing or working on, and it means a lot to them. But the big investors, like podcasts I listen to, they've done it time and time again. And yes, they have failed, but they succeed more than they failed. And they've learned from those mistakes. As have you experienced personally any mistakes, or your friends? I know you own in Ohio, some of those experiences.
Thankfully, I haven't failed at my decisions, but I have friends who have failed, invested into properties, and eventually after 6 months to a year, things went south. The roof started crushing, and plumbings blew up. Like things happened that would cost thousands of dollars, way more than what they could save up to spend the money in the house. Obviously, they still fixed those issues, but then they got out of it quickly and went to the next home, because just like Nicole mentioned, you can't have emotions in business. You have to make a decision in business based on what it's profitable for you, what is going to make a better future for you. You can't involve emotions in it. You can't say, I love this house, or this is my first house, so I invested so much time in this, I can't let it go. Those are the reasons that make you fail. There can't be any emotions involved. You have to directly go at it as of a businessman or a business mind. And when you make a decision to sell that home, it's only because you want to make more profit and you want to be in this business for a longer term, not short term.
Just get out of your own way.
Just get out of your own way.
Because I feel like that emotions are what complicate any kind of business decision or anything that gets in your way of succeeding. Whatever it is that your goal is, take a step back, take a deep breath, and think about, am I responding to this emotionally, or is this a sound financial decision? Looking at the numbers will always help you and ground you in, do I need to hold on to this property? Or do I need to let it go and find a better deal?
Absolutely. And one more thing I'm going to tell you is, once you start making money in this, once you are able to put decent good amount of money aside, and in your mind you're like, okay, it's time for me to buy a nicer car, or go buy some jewelry, or go spend some money on myself, that is the worst mistake you can make. That is literally the worst mistake you can make, because if you make money in this and you put that money inside and then you go take another risk on another house, you can double your money, then you can triple your money, and then you'll be financially so stable, then you can go make that stupid mistake and buy a $100,000 car. I don't always recommend that, but we're young, and even if in our 40s and 50s, we can still achieve the dreams that we've had since we were kids. But at least do the work, take the risks, and once you get to a level where you're so financially stable that $100,000 car
is something you can maybe buy cash outright,
absolutely,
then that might be a different conversation.
Absolutely.
But purchasing those vehicles or leasing them when you're not truly ready or financially stable actually adds more risk to your portfolio, and it does impede you from purchasing more real estate and continue to expand your portfolio, because a mortgage loan officer is going to take a look at all of your debt to income ratio, and a vehicle is a depreciating asset that really is not going to help you in the long run. Yes, you need a vehicle that moves you from A to B. Personally, I bought the vehicle that I own right now 3 years straight off of a lease, so it was 3 years old, only 38,000 miles on it, but I paid less than half of what the original value was. I have paid it off in 5 years. I own it outright. It's not a Porsche 911. I would love a Raspberry Porsche 911, but I'm so proud of myself that I don't have that. After next month, I don't have that financial risk. And so when I do go to apply for a mortgage, most likely, I'll be honest, I'll be purchasing out of state. I really like the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I feel like a lot of those of us in our 30s that are looking to start a family and move to Texas, that is an up and coming market. There are already a lot of Californians that have left to go start their families out there. But when you were saying looking at neighborhoods and growth, I found a neighborhood where in one shopping center, they had a blow dry bar that if you're from California, you love dry bar. It's national, but they had a dry bar. They had a yoga studio that I used to teach for, and one of my girlfriends was actually teaching the class because she had migrated there. They had a acai bowl and smoothie thing, basically all the things I'd be looking for. And all these shopping centers were brand new builds within the past 5 years, brand new construction. So I want to purchase something out there because you can get a 3-bedroom, brand new turnkey construction home for $350, $400. Put some renters in it. It still looks great on your portfolio, but you can continue to triple and double and expand in markets that aren't, we'll be honest, Orange County, if you're young and a investor just starting out.
Absolutely. I mean, Nicole said it perfect. Honestly, there's not a whole lot I can add into that, but that's just my advice is for you today. I just want you to make the right decisions, but take risks, because you're never going to know what you're capable of doing and making your income so much higher if you don't take that risk. Obviously, you don't always win in a risk, but the learning experience that you get from that risk you took helps you grow and take even bigger risks. Because especially, this is for everyone, but especially people in their 30s, this is the time for you, because you've had enough experience through your days where you lost money here, you got some money there, you put some aside or you didn't, but now it clicks. Now you want more, and obviously if you want something that it's high valued, you need to have money. I'm not saying the world turns and rotates with money, but it does. It's unfortunate that we all need it to make
Financial
things
freedom
work.
is huge.
Absolutely.
It will affect your health. It'll affect your mindset. It'll affect everything in your life. If you can keep your head down and stay focused for 5-10 years while you're in your 30s, do the out-of-state investing, continue to look at deals and expanding your portfolio, you are set up to enjoy the rest of your life with so much more freedom. And that is one thing I wish I could go tell 20-something-year-old me. Hey, instead of those Fendi heels, set that money aside and let's buy some real estate.
Absolutely. And I'm just like Nicole. In my 20s, I made some huge mistakes. And reason I'm bringing up investing in things that are not worth it for you, I made a really good money in my early 20s because me and my dad were entrepreneurs. We had a body shop, mechanic shop, and car dealership. And I invested, the money that I put aside in an S-Class Mercedes. And guess what? 4 years later, it wasn't even worth half of what I paid for it. So I learned my lesson real quick. That was the worst investment I made in my life. Yeah, I look cool while doing it, but who cares? Because that money could have helped me a lot today, buy many more properties and invest a lot more in real estate. But I don't regret. That was a learning lesson in my 20s, so I don't make the same mistake in my 30s. And then just the last thing I tell you is don't be afraid to take risks. Do your research. And when you are talking to a realtor, because most of the times when you're putting offer on these homes, you don't even see these homes in person. You're across the country offering.
And your property's in Ohio, primarily.
I'm across the country, absolutely. Yeah. So once you go across the country and you see these homes, you wasted that time. You don't want to do that. You have your realtor, you have the inspector, you can do the entire deal virtually. This is 2023. This might sound crazy, but I'm telling you, this is the way to make money nowadays. You want to save that time. You still have your job. You still have your income that you have right now. This is a side income. And make sure the realtors you are working for or you are working with read their Yelp reviews, read about them, research about them, see what they're about, see what people are saying about them. Because if they have 30 or 40 negative reviews posted, about them, then obviously that's a yellow flag. I don't say a red flag because you can't always trust reviews, but be cautious. But make the right decision. Make sure you are very honest right off the bat with your realtor, because your realtor, they are there to help you. They are there to save you money, make sure this happens. Even though you are paying them, you're paying them to protect you. That's 100% you're paying them for, is to protect you, not to get screwed over in a deal. So make a great relationship with a realtor, keep him in your back pocket. And one more thing I have to say is look up handymans in that area. Make sure you can find 2-3 different vendors that are your handymans, so that way if some things do go wrong, you don't go hire a contractor to go in there and fix it for you, because contractors charge 10 times more than a handyman does. So, but you take these steps and I can almost guarantee you that you will win. There's always going to be risks, so if you do this and something doesn't go right, don't come find me and tell me you said it, because I'm telling you there's a risk.
You always want to talk to your realtor, you want to talk to your mortgage loan officer, your financial advisors. Build that team of trusted individuals that are going to help you succeed financially. Having a good CPA helps as well, to make sure, because that's another point of owning real estate, is the tax break that you get. Whether you or not you need an LLC, what kind of insurance is going to be involved as well. But having that team and list of vendors, handymen, plumbers, whoever it is that you have personally interviewed. So I'm looking at helping folks invest in the Mammoth area. My family and I personally love to snowboard, and we've gone to the snow every year since I was a kid. And now they're finally looking at, okay, well, we love to go there so much. Why continue to spend $700 to $1,000 for a private Airbnb when we could own one ourselves, rent it out when we're not there, and continue to turn profit? But there are things that you have to think about for that area, such as snow removal. I have another friend with a property out there. She said she's already spent $8,000 in snow removal this year alone because they had a record-breaking year. But just things specific to that area, to have that list of vendors, always important. That also adds into your profit. So if you can have that spreadsheet, how much are these things going to cost me? If it's an area with extreme weather, then that's a predictable cost. Something you also need to think about. But don't let it scare you. There's a lot of free resources. I'm here to help as much as I can. And Farid has a very promising and huge following for his music. So I would love it if you followed him as well on Instagram.
Thank you so much for having me, Nicole. My Instagram is The Persian Man. So reach out to me if you have any questions, or if you want to hear my music, please give me feedback. It was a pleasure being here with you guys today. And I look forward to see you guys again someday in the future.
Thanks for listening to At Home with Nicole. Till next time.
Bye.